To be a true Virgo is to walk the path of quiet strength, forged not in ease, but through trials, setbacks, and the steady refining fire of self-awareness. The essence of a real Virgo is not born in perfection but carved through imperfection, molded by the lessons that only failure can teach. You carry the archetype of the healer, the analyst, the meticulous architect of order in a chaotic world, but your mastery was earned. You weren't born disciplined. You became disciplined through necessity. You weren't always precise. You learned the cost of carelessness. You are not naturally serene. You cultivated serenity in the storms. A true Virgo, weathered and wise, has tasted the bitterness of disappointment and turned it into fuel. Your standards are not born of arrogance, but of experience. They are the product of 1,000 attempts, each one chiseling you closer to excellence. People see the polished surface, your organized world, your intelligent insights, your seemingly effortless ability to solve what others cannot. But they do not see the countless nights of self-doubt, the revisions, the internal battles with perfectionism. They don't see how many times you broke before you learned how to mend yourself with gold, turning every crack into a seam of value. You carry Mercury's gift not just as a mind that calculates, but as a spirit that seeks mastery and service. You've learned that your need to help, to fix, to heal is a superpower, but only when balanced with the wisdom of boundaries. You no longer burn yourself out proving your worth. You've learned that your worth was never in question, only your ability to see it clearly. A real Virgo grows into their strength, like the earth awakening after drought, more fertile for its suffering. You no longer shrink yourself to accommodate chaos. You've learned to rise with poise, to bring structure where there was none, to offer clarity when others are lost in fog. Your criticism has softened into discernment. Your sharp mind no longer seeks to control but to understand. You have become an alchemist of the soul, turning pain into precision, doubt into focus, restlessness into achievement. The true Virgo journey is epic because it is solitary. Yours is the story of the silent warrior, often overlooked, underestimated, or misunderstood. You don't parade your progress. You let your results speak. You move with humility, but your steps leave a trail of excellence wherever you go. You've outgrown the need for approval because your self-respect now runs deeper than applause. You've learned that real validation comes from the integrity of your work, the alignment of your values, the quiet pride of a task well done. You are driven not by ego, but by purpose. You are motivated not by comparison, but by internal calibration. The Virgo of truth does not need to be the loudest in the room. They are the foundation upon which the room stands. Your success may look effortless, but it was built through sacred repetition, by failing forward, by choosing growth over comfort time and time again. A true Virgo no longer fears mistakes. They embrace them as mirrors. Each misstep becomes part of your sacred blueprint. You've learned that control is not power, but understanding is. You've discovered that perfection isn't a goal. It's a process, and progress is the real reward. The evolution from self-judgment to self-mastery is your pilgrimage, and it has made you unshakable. While others may only now see the light you radiate, they do not know the depths you had to walk through to ignite it. But you know, and you carry that knowledge like armor, silent, shining, unbreakable. You are a Virgo not just by birth, but by journey. And your journey is a testament to what can be achieved when discipline is born of compassion, when flaws become fuel, and when the heart and mind unite in service of something greater than the self. You are the silent revolution, the proof that refinement is power, the quiet storm that rebuilt itself from the inside out. And now, unyielding and luminous, you walk with the strength of one who has earned every step. To delve deeper into the soul of a true Virgo is to enter a realm where sacred duty meets unshakable will. Beyond the layers of discipline and refinement lies a heart that carries ancient wisdom, a timeless instinct to heal, protect, and elevate. Virgo is ruled by Mercury, yes, but not only in the mind's clarity. It is Mercury as the divine messenger, the sacred bridge between chaos and coherence, between the divine vision and its earthly execution. A true Virgo has learned to translate the language of the cosmos into real, tangible action. They are not dreamers detached from the world. They are builders of bridges between what is and what could be. There is an overlooked bravery in the Virgo spirit. It is not the loud courage of battle cries, but the quiet, relentless heroism of getting up each day with the intention to be better than the day before. This is a courage that defies fanfare, a resilience that grows like roots beneath the soil, unseen yet unshakable. This Virgo does not just strive for perfection for the sake of flawlessness. No, the evolved Virgo has learned that true perfection is found in presence, in process, in the reverence for every detail, every breath, every moment that is crafted with integrity. Virgo's earth element is not passive. It is fertile, transformative, and sovereign. There is magic in the Virgo who has suffered and survived. There is power in the Virgo who has learned to rest without guilt, to pause without shame, and to stop carrying burdens that were never theirs to hold. The real Virgo journey involves learning to discriminate not only externally, but internally, to know which thoughts are worthy of belief, which emotions are asking to be felt rather than fixed, and which paths align with their higher calling. An awakened Virgo becomes the sovereign of their inner realm. No longer enslaved by the need to control everything around them, they begin to master the sacred art of surrender. They trust in divine timing, not because they are naive, but because they have lived enough to know that the most enduring things cannot be rushed. The Virgo who has matured understands that service is not submission, it is sacred contribution. They serve not from lack, but from overflow. They give because their inner well is deep, filled with the waters of experience, resilience, and earned wisdom. One of the most potent transformations in a Virgo's life is the transmutation of self-criticism into self-honor. Where once they wielded their mind like a scalpel against their own spirit, they now use that same sharpness to cut through illusion and doubt. They become not their own worst enemy, but their most loyal guardian. And in doing so, they become a beacon for others. Not through preaching, but through the quiet power of their example. People begin to feel safer in their presence. Not because they are soft, but because they are anchored. Virgo brings grounding to the storm and illumination to the shadows. There is often a karmic path woven into the Virgo soul. Many Virgos carry the weight of ancestral patterns, of responsibilities unspoken but deeply felt. They are born into lives where nothing is handed to them without effort, where they must earn not only their place in the world, but their peace within it. But the alchemy of a true Virgo is in how they transform this burden into legacy. Through their healing, they heal generations. Through their boundaries, they teach others how to respect themselves. Through their presence, they uplift entire spaces. The true Virgo does not wait for recognition. They are no longer addicted to being needed, because they have learned that their value is not determined by others' dependence. They have learned to choose themselves without apology, to invest in their dreams with the same devotion they once gave to everyone else. They are sacred initiators, not martyrs. Their humility is no longer mistaken for weakness, because their strength is evident in the way they carry themselves, in their gaze, their decisions, their unwavering standards. Even in silence, a Virgo speaks volumes. Their presence shifts the energy in a room. Their commitment to excellence is not just about outcomes, it's a spiritual practice. Every carefully chosen word, every ritual of care, every act of precision is an offering to something greater. The mature Virgo does not seek control to avoid chaos. They seek mastery to bring harmony. They have learned that the world cannot be perfected, but that they can be whole within it. And this wholeness radiates like a subtle force, drawing others toward their own inner truth. In the grand design of the zodiac, Virgo stands as the sanctified architect of evolution, the one who kneels not in subservience, but in reverence to a greater plan, the one who understands that greatness is not a moment of triumph, but a pattern of intention, the one who has failed, faltered, fallen, but always returned, wiser, stronger, more anchored in soul. To be a real Virgo is to embody grace forged in the crucible of experience. It is to rise not once, but repeatedly, each time with more clarity, more humility, and more power. It is to be a guardian of sacred order in a world that often forgets its own rhythm. It is to walk in quiet glory, aligned not with ego, but with essence. And in doing so, to become a living testament to the truth that the most radiant strength is the one that does not need to shout, because it already knows it cannot be shaken. To understand the full magnitude of the Virgo archetype is to enter a deeper dimension of sacred duty, where logic merges with love and service becomes a divine act of rebellion against apathy. While many speak of Virgo's mind, few acknowledge the profound emotional depth that lies beneath the surface. This depth is not dramatic or explosive. It is quiet, constant, and deeply attuned. The heart of a true Virgo beats in sync with the suffering of others, not to absorb it, but to find elegant, grounded ways to soothe it. Virgo is not just the sign of the critic or the perfectionist. It is the steward of healing, the guardian of processes, the priestess and priest of divine refinement. A true Virgo carries sacred discernment not just in their speech, but in every aspect of their existence. They sense misalignment like a whisper in the wind. Their intuition is often cloaked in reason, but it is no less powerful than the visions of a Pisces or the flames of an Aries. Virgo intuition arises from lived experience, from thousands of tiny details observed and internalized, from knowing the rhythm of life at an intimate level. When others see disorder, Virgo sees a system yearning to be restored. When others walk away from difficulty, Virgo walks toward it, not to control but to recalibrate. The Virgo path is also one of deep solitude, not loneliness, but the kind of solitude that sharpens the soul and purifies the will. In this solitude, Virgo meets the self again and again, not in grandeur, but in humility. It is in this silence that they begin to hear the language of their own purpose, echoing louder than the opinions of the world. The Virgo who has walked through failure, rejection, and misjudgment learns to build a sanctuary within. They become their own shelter, their own sanctuary of truth. They become sovereign not through detachment, but through inner clarity. Virgo's earth is sacred ground, a terrain cultivated with intention and discipline. Their lives may not always appear dramatic, but beneath the surface, epic transformations take place. They do not rely on the storm to feel alive. They build empires through consistency, through tenacity, through the art of showing up when it's hardest. Where others burn out in bursts of fire, Virgo becomes the enduring flame that warms the world over time. Their growth is not linear. It is spiral, cyclical, and layered. With each return to the same lesson, they dig deeper, understand more, and emerge stronger. There is also a deeply mystical side to Virgo that is too often overlooked. This is the sign of sacred rituals, of devotion not only to order but to the divine order that underlies all things. Virgo tends the altar of the everyday. They turn the mundane into magic, the routine into rhythm, the practical into sacred offering. Whether in preparing a space, speaking with precision, or showing up in service of something greater than themselves, Virgo channels the unseen into the tangible. They are the ones who remember that enlightenment doesn't always come in thunder, but often in the soft discipline of daily alignment with the truth. The journey of the true Virgo involves not only learning how to serve others, but how to serve the self, the higher self, the divine within. The Virgo who has matured understands that their time, energy, and gifts are precious resources to be offered with care. They no longer scatter their energy trying to fix what is not theirs to fix. They honor the difference between help and enablement, between guidance and interference. They've learned the sacred art of saying no, of creating boundaries that are not walls but gates, thresholds that only what is true may pass through. There is also a revolutionary aspect to Virgo, often hidden beneath their composed demeanor. They are quiet reformers, architects of change, visionaries of better systems. While others dream of transformation, Virgo builds it step by step, line by line, plan by plan. They are the patient ones who design the structures that will outlast them. Their legacy is not always in what is shouted or praised, but in what quietly works, what quietly heals, what quietly endures. Virgo power is the kind that never seeks the throne, yet ends up leading by merit of example. True Virgo energy is not interested in superficial perfection, but in inner coherence. The Virgo who has evolved through fire and failure understands that beauty lies in authenticity. They release the masks of having it all together and embrace the honesty of imperfection. They hold themselves to a standard not out of fear, but out of reverence for what they can become. They do not seek to impress, they seek to align. And in that alignment, they become unstoppable. There is an ancient soul encoded in Virgo, a wisdom that remembers cycles, seasons, and the sacred relationship between effort and grace. This Virgo does not act out of obligation, but out of choice. Every action is intentional. Every improvement is an offering. Every lesson, even the painful ones, becomes a source of strength. They do not need chaos to find themselves. They find themselves through clarity. They do not need others to fall in line. They simply lead by such authentic calibration that others naturally follow. In a world that praises spectacle and shortcuts, the true Virgo stands as a monument to the long road, the steady hand, the devoted heart. They are the anchor in the storm, the healer in the shadows, the voice of reason when all else is noise. They are the ones who endure not because they are invulnerable, but because they have learned how to bend, how to break with grace, and how to rebuild with deeper roots each time. Their path may never be the easiest, but it is one of the most powerful. And once they have claimed their voice, their value, and their vision, there is nothing they cannot touch without elevating it. For Virgo is not just a sign, it is a force, a sacred guardian of purpose, a silent titan of transformation, a living reminder that the most profound evolution often happens not in the roar, but in the whisper. There is a dimension of the Virgo journey that is rarely acknowledged, the capacity for deep transmutation through crisis. While Virgo is often associated with stability, routines, and logic, the soul of a true Virgo has faced chaos not only in the external world but within the labyrinth of their own mind. They have known what it means to be trapped in spirals of overthinking, to wrestle with doubt that paralyzes progress, to carry the weight of invisible expectations. But it is precisely in these battles that their inner fire is awakened. Virgo does not crumble in confusion. Virgo refines through it. Their chaos becomes compost for clarity. Their pain becomes the blueprint for their higher purpose. There is an alchemical edge to the Virgo archetype. This is not just a sign of humble service. It is a sign of sacred purification. Virgo does not simply clean. Virgo consecrates. Every act of organizing, editing, reworking, and healing is not just functional, it is spiritual. They bring order not just to their surroundings, but to the very energy of a space. Their presence is medicine. Their choices, when aligned, become rituals of integrity. The evolved Virgo becomes a vessel for transformation, distilling complexity into simplicity, turning confusion into direction, and weaving invisible threads of wisdom through the mundane fabric of life. A hidden strength within Virgo is the unshakable will to evolve. This is not a will that shouts. It is the will that whispers through every small, repeated action. It is the sacred promise they keep to themselves even when no one else is watching. While others may burn bright and fade, Virgo sustains. Virgo endures, not out of pride, but because they have built a covenant with their soul to rise, to grow, and to contribute. They understand that real mastery is not declared. It is earned, refined, and lived. Virgo is often misunderstood because their greatness is not flamboyant. It is encoded in subtlety. Their intelligence is not meant to dazzle but to solve. Their love is not loud but profound. Their leadership is not based on dominance but on devotion. They do not command through force but through competence. They do not seek to be followed. They are simply so grounded in their path that others trust the ground they walk on. Underneath the analytical mind of Virgo lies a heart that aches for justice, truth, and restoration. Their service is not passive. It is revolutionary in its quiet persistence. Virgo carries the wisdom of the healer, the scientist, the priest, and the artisan all in one. They do not separate soul from structure. They weave them together into something lasting. And in doing so, they remind the world that excellence is not the enemy of love, that precision is not the opposite of passion, and that devotion does not mean sacrifice, but sacred purpose. The inner world of Virgo is a sanctuary built through introspection and discipline. They are ruled by Mercury, the messenger, but this is Mercury grounded in earth, the kind that does not just speak, but delivers. They are not content with promises. They are driven by completion. They are not seduced by fantasy. They are anchored in function. Yet this anchoring is not a limitation. It is liberation. The mature Virgo has learned how to use their structure as a vessel for the soul, not a cage for it. They have learned that by mastering form, they make space for spirit. In times of uncertainty, the Virgo soul becomes a lighthouse. Their insight is not just academic. It is intuitive, earned, and deeply human. They sense the fractures in systems, the places where things fall apart, and instinctively move toward repair. This is the sacred work of the Virgo, to bring healing not only to individuals but to the very frameworks that govern our lives. They are the stewards of evolution not in theory, but in practice. Virgo is not only about refining what is, but about holding the vision of what could be. Beneath their careful planning and critical thought lies a dream of wholeness, a vision of a world that works in harmony, where every part is valued, where every piece has its place. Virgo dreams not in chaos, but in blueprints, not in fantasy, but in quiet revolution. Their dream is not abstract, it is designed, mapped, and built one action at a time. There is also a sacred sensuality to Virgo often overlooked. Because of their connection to the body, to rhythms, to nourishment and well-being, Virgo can access a form of grounded ecstasy that comes not from indulgence, but from presence. They understand that pleasure is not separate from responsibility, that joy is a form of alignment, not an escape from it. A true Virgo knows how to turn self-care into sacred ritual, how to turn nourishment into prayer. They restore themselves not through excess, but through quality, through intention, through tuning into the deep wisdom of the body and the earth. The journey of a real Virgo is ultimately the journey of embodiment, to bring soul into form, to live wisdom, not just speak it, to become a living example of what it means to be whole in a fragmented world. They do not preach, they practice. They do not perform, they persevere. Their greatness is not an act, but a vibration that emanates through their consistency, their care, their courage to begin again every time life asks more of them. And so Virgo rises, not in thunder or spectacle, but in quiet, unrelenting glory. They rise through every carefully made choice, every lesson integrated, every truth honored. They rise not above others, but beside them, lifting, anchoring, clarifying, guiding. They become a mirror for what is possible when devotion meets discernment, when humility becomes strength, when the sacred is found in every detail. And in this rising, they do not need validation, for they know, in the marrow of their being, that they are living the work of the divine. There is a sacred fire that burns in the soul of a true Virgo, one that is not born from ego or ambition, but from an unrelenting devotion to a higher standard. This fire does not demand recognition. It asks for alignment. The Virgo who has journeyed through struggle, who has learned to temper the harshness of self-judgment with the grace of compassion, becomes a force of nature so grounded, so precise, and so pure in intention that even the most chaotic energies bow before their presence. They become architects of inner order in a world addicted to noise and speed. The Virgo path is not one of ease. It is forged through contrast. This is a soul who is often placed in environments where things are broken, not so they can complain about them, but because they are wired to repair, to refine, to restore. Virgo carries an almost mystical understanding that nothing worth building is ever rushed, and nothing truly beautiful is ever shallow. They move through life as guardians of sacred standards, not out of arrogance, but because they understand that every detail carries frequency, that every choice is a spell, that every intention has impact. The essence of Virgo is not just about doing things well, it is about doing things with meaning. Their excellence is born not from perfectionism, but from reverence. When they write, it is to clarify. When they speak, it is to uplift. When they create, it is to offer. They do not waste words, energy, or emotion, because they know the value of what they hold. They have spent lifetimes earning their wisdom, not through fantasy, but through the raw labor of living, through mistakes that carved character, through silence that deepened insight, through service that awakened soul. Virgo energy is deeply rooted in the sacred contract of integrity. They are here to be living proof that greatness is not a moment. It is a process, one that requires endurance, attention, and unwavering heart. While many chase the light for recognition, Virgo becomes the light through their work. They embody the understanding that true impact happens not when the spotlight is brightest, but when the work is most real. Their legacy is not built in applause, but in the lives they touch, the systems they refine, the truths they embody. The Virgo who has matured is also a warrior of healing, not only for others but for themselves. They know what it means to look into the mirror of their own pain and stay. They do not run from discomfort. They sit with it, study it, learn from it, and then rise with deeper insight. They transmute wounds into wisdom. They do not simply survive, they evolve. And that evolution becomes their medicine, their compass, their offering. They are not afraid of the dark because they have learned to bring their own light. They are not afraid of imperfection because they have embraced their humanity as part of their holiness. True Virgo strength lies in their ability to merge vision with action. They are not content to imagine a better world. They take steps every day to build it. Quietly, diligently, relentlessly. Their focus is not narrow, it is sacred. Their standards are not rigid, they are refined. Their boundaries are not cold, they are clear. They have learned that saying no is not rejection, it is protection. That rest is not weakness, it is restoration. That letting go is not failure, it is faith. While others are pulled by trends and distractions, Virgo stands as a pillar of purpose. They are the ones who keep going when the hype fades, who return to the work when no one is watching, who continue to build when others have given up. This is the silent epic of Virgo, the journey of becoming not through conquest, but through consistency. They know that the most powerful revolutions begin in the quiet choices, in the discipline of daily devotion, in the alignment between thought and action. They are often misunderstood because they do not seek validation in grand displays. Their joy is subtle. It is in the satisfaction of a system improved, a truth spoken, a life touched by their care. They may not seek the throne, but they become sovereign in their own right, not by dominance but by mastery. They become the backbone of communities, the heartbeat of purpose-driven movements, the calm in the storm. They carry the weight of responsibility not as a burden, but as a privilege, because they know that their presence, their energy, their example matters. In love, Virgo gives deeply, but with discernment. Their affection is not impulsive, it is intentional. They study the needs of those they care for. They show love through consistency, through noticing the little things, through standing beside someone not only in moments of joy, but in the quiet, difficult places. They are not drawn to drama, but to depth. And when they choose someone, it is with every fiber of their being. Not because it is easy, but because it is true. And in that truth, they love with a power that is unshakable. Even in solitude, Virgo thrives. They are not afraid to walk alone because they are not afraid to hear their own thoughts. They are not afraid of silence because they have made peace with who they are. In that stillness, they receive the downloads of vision, the clarity of purpose, the refinement of direction. They emerge from solitude not empty, but full, ready to give again, to serve again, to build again. They understand that solitude is not separation. It is sacred communion with their highest self. The Virgo path is a pilgrimage of precision and purpose. It is the soul's sacred choreography between intellect and intuition, between earth and spirit, between humility and power. The Virgo who has risen from trial, who has shaped their scars into symbols of strength, who has turned their inner critic into an inner compass, walks this earth with quiet majesty. They do not need to be crowned. They have already claimed their worth through the way they live, through the way they heal, through the way they become living vessels of sacred work done well. Beyond the known layers of Virgo's dedication, mastery, and inner refinement, there lies a cosmic thread that connects this sign to the sacred rhythm of time itself. Virgo is not only the keeper of order in the physical world, but a guardian of divine timing. The mature Virgo understands that not all growth is visible, not all progress is linear, and not all answers are immediate. They have walked through seasons of silence, endured winters of the soul where nothing seemed to bloom, and they have learned to trust the unseen machinery of the universe. In these moments, When others lost faith, Virgo held on, not blindly, but with conscious surrender rooted in deep wisdom. Virgo's relationship with time is not driven by urgency but by intention. They are not racing the clock, they are aligning with cycles. Their intuition, often mistaken as logic, is in truth a finely tuned response to the sacred unfolding of life. They sense when to wait, when to act, when to speak, and when to remain silent. Their timing is not always understood by those around them, but they are not here to be understood. They are here to embody what works, what lasts, what matters. They are students of life's deeper choreography, adjusting their steps to match the tempo of truth. A dimension rarely explored in Virgo's archetype is their connection to ancestral memory. Virgo carries within their cellular structure the codes of ancient craftspeople, healers, midwives, and scribes. Their gift of service is not a new invention, it is inherited. It is sacred lineage passed through time, reborn in a soul that chose to refine, not just to create. Virgo is the one who remembers how to bless the bread as it is broken, how to purify space with presence, how to pour love into even the most mundane task. In their hands, tradition becomes alive again. Through them, the forgotten arts of care and precision are resurrected. Though Virgo is often perceived as solitary, their solitude is sacred space, not social absence. It is in this quiet communion with themselves that they access the infinite. Virgo's solitude is not emptiness, it is resonance. In the silence, they listen to what the world cannot hear. They craft solutions not through reaction, but through reflection. They emerge from this silence with clarity sharp as a blade and purpose rooted as a tree. While others may fear being alone with their thoughts, Virgo transforms that internal dialogue into a symphony of intention, into the alchemy of inner truth. There is a heroic aspect to Virgo's humility that often goes unrecognized. In a world that screams for attention, Virgo dares to be quiet. In a culture obsessed with shortcuts, Virgo chooses the long road of integrity. In an age of spectacle, Virgo builds substance. They are not interested in applause if it comes without alignment. They do not chase validation because they have earned their value in the unseen hours, in the relentless refinement of their craft, in the honest reckoning with their own flaws. Their evolution is not fueled by comparison but by conviction. Virgo is not simply ruled by Mercury as a messenger of words but as a carrier of codes. Every thought, every plan, every observation is embedded with potential. They do not think for the sake of thinking, they are decoding reality. Their mind is a sacred tool, sharpened by experience, honed by discipline. When they speak from a place of crystallized knowing. When they choose with the full weight of discernment. And when they act, it is with the full power of intention carried through the body into form. Another hidden aspect of Virgo's power is their ability to transmute shame into sovereignty. This sign, perhaps more than any other, has wrestled with self-doubt, with feelings of not being enough, with the endless chase of an unreachable ideal. But the evolved Virgo has crossed the threshold of self-rejection and emerged with something far more powerful than confidence. They have earned self-respect. They have faced their inner critic and turned it into a sacred advisor. They no longer strive for perfection to prove their worth. They now strive for excellence as a devotion to what they love. They walk no longer to escape their flaws, but to embody their truth. They have become whole not in spite of their imperfections, but because of how they've integrated them. In relationship with others, Virgo brings a love that is rooted in reality yet exalted in care. They do not promise the stars without knowing how to build the ladder to reach them. Their devotion is practical magic. Their loyalty is sacred contract. They do not love lightly, but once their trust is earned, they love with a depth that transcends romantic illusion. They become both compass and companion. They uplift not with flattery, but with grounded encouragement. They protect not with force, but with foresight. They serve not to be needed, but because it is their nature to uplift what they touch. Virgo's magic lies in the paradox they hold within. They are both the student and the teacher, the healer and the healed, the visionary and the executor. They are the ones who can bring heaven into earth not through fantasy, but through action. They are the ones who understand that the soul's light must be grounded through form, that beauty must be built to be sustained, that love must be made practical to be lived. They carry the holy blueprint of what happens when spirit and structure become one. They walk through life not as victims of fate, but as co-creators with it. They do not rebel with noise, they rebel with refinement. They do not demand the world to change. They become the change that quietly transforms everything around them. They are the silent architects of better futures, the weavers of stronger foundations, the midwives of more conscious ways of being. Their power may not come in bursts, but it never fades. It accumulates, compounds, and ripens. And when the time is right, that power becomes legacy. To be a true Virgo is not to be perfect. It is to be sacredly human. It is to walk through fire without losing clarity. It is to bend without breaking. It is to carry light into the darkest corners and still believe in better. It is to live with intention, speak with precision, and love with wisdom. It is to rise not once, but many times, always stronger, always purer, always more whole. The Virgo who has embraced their full spectrum does not need the world to see their journey. They are already crowned in the quiet certainty of who they have become. There is a deeper current running beneath the surface of Virgo's existence, a hidden force not often acknowledged but eternally present. It is the quiet resilience born from being misunderstood. Virgo does not scream to be seen. Instead, they endure, grow, and elevate themselves in silence, knowing that recognition often lags behind truth. This resilience is not hardened cynicism, but a soft strength forged through years of refining their own identity without external validation. While others collapse beneath the weight of judgment, Virgo learns to sculpt themselves with it, transforming criticism into clarity and adversity into alignment. In the astrological wheel, Virgo is the alchemist of Earth, the one who transforms chaos into order, confusion into coherence, and fragmentation into harmony. They do not fear the mess of the world. They study it, diagnose it, and then, like a sacred artisan, begin to mend what others believed beyond repair. This ability to bring coherence to disarray is not born from control, but from a deep spiritual understanding that everything has a right place, a right time, a right form. Virgo sees what others overlook, not just on the outside, but within. They recognize dormant potential, subtle misalignments, and quiet calls for help long before they are voiced. This perception is a gift and a burden, and one that only the wise Virgo learns to use with compassion. There is a quiet mysticism in Virgo's groundedness. Many speak of Virgo's practicality without acknowledging the spiritual nature of true discernment. Virgo's eye for detail is not mere intellect, it is intuitive precision. It is an innate ability to sense energetic dissonance and redirect it back into harmony. What others call overthinking, Virgo calls sacred observation. What others dismiss as picky, Virgo lives as sacred stewardship. They are not fixated on flaws, they are attuned to frequencies. Their standards are not cages but invitations to excellence, not for the sake of ego, but for the honor of their craft and the integrity of their purpose. Virgo's relationship with healing is also profoundly underrated. While traditionally associated with health and service, Virgo's healing powers go beyond the physical. They are energetic purifiers. In their presence, confusion dissipates, illusions unravel, and clarity emerges. They cleanse not with force, but with intention. Their words can become medicine, their silence a sanctuary. They carry within them an ancient remembrance that healing is not a moment. It is a lifestyle. Virgo teaches that health is not just the absence of illness, but the presence of alignment in body, mind, and spirit. Their path often includes navigating their own burnout, their own imbalances, until they learn that true healing begins within and radiates outward. Their connection to Mercury also grants Virgo the ability to bridge logic and intuition, to bring divine messages into functional form. Virgo doesn't dream without action. They plan with purpose. They do not speak to impress. They speak to enlighten. Every decision is weighted with meaning, every step rooted in responsibility. They have an innate awareness that their words and actions ripple into the collective. This awareness does not cripple them, it sharpens them. They learn to wield their influence with grace, humility, and exactitude. They understand that clarity is a gift, and they use it to light the way, not for applause but for truth. There is also a sacred grief that Virgo carries, the grief of knowing how much better things could be, and often being the only one who sees it. This grief, when transmuted, becomes a divine motivator. It fuels their tireless dedication to make things better, cleaner, clearer. It drives them to go where others won't, to stay longer than expected, to care deeper than is comfortable. Virgo does not give up easily, not because they lack boundaries, but because they understand that transformation takes time. Their service is not people-pleasing, it is soul purpose. They are here to hold the line between what is and what could be, and to walk the path that turns ideals into lived reality. Even in the realm of creativity, Virgo defies stereotypes. While often labeled as analytical, they are in fact deeply imaginative, but their creativity is structured like sacred geometry. They can take abstract visions and render them into tangible experiences. They do not just write poetry, they craft it with rhythm and reason. They do not just dream of change, they implement systems to anchor it. Virgo understands that the divine lives in structure, that beauty is not diminished by order but elevated by it. Their creativity is meticulous not because it lacks soul, but because it honors the soul through form. In leadership, Virgo leads not from dominance but from example. They do not shout commands, they embody direction. Their strength lies not in making others follow, but in creating environments where people naturally rise. They delegate with trust, correct with grace, and guide with wisdom earned through lived humility. They do not seek the spotlight, but they often become the axis around which others find stability. Their leadership is not loud, but it is undeniable. It emanates from the consistency of their character, the clarity of their vision, and the quiet majesty of their commitment. Perhaps one of the most awe-inspiring aspects of the evolved Virgo is their devotion to evolution itself. They are never stagnant. They are always learning, always questioning, always refining, not because they are insecure, but because they are innately connected to the truth that growth is sacred. They are not afraid to admit when they are wrong. They do not crumble when corrected. They rise. Again and again, they rise, stronger, clearer, and more whole. Their progress is not performative, it is cellular. It happens deep in their bones, in the way they walk, in the way they breathe, in the way they build a better life not just for themselves, but for all. In the end, the Virgo journey is one of sacred precision, of soulful service, of enduring truth. It is not a tale told in grand declarations or dramatic arcs, but in the quiet, consistent pursuit of excellence born of love. Virgo does not need to conquer, they calibrate. They do not need to shout, they shape. And in a world filled with noise, the Virgo soul is a rare symphony of devotion, depth, and divine clarity. Their legacy is not one of fleeting fame but of lasting impact, felt not always seen, honored not always celebrated, but undeniable in its quiet power to transform everything it touches.